The White House was terrible, really. I mean, so pompous, so tense. It's presidential, not prime ministerial. So it's like the Queen plus the Prime Minister all in one. So you get the worst of both worlds. Everything choreographed, everything staged. Bush was surprisingly affectionate. Um, he acknowledged the political pain he'd caused Blair, um, and spoke of him with real admiration, and said, he was in good form, Bush. Sometimes he just swallows his tongue, and you don't get a syllable of sense out of him. But he was relaxed, and he said that the Blair, he said, Bush said, you get a lot of hot air artists, blowhards, people who say a lot of fancy things, but Blair isn't like that, and he follows through too, and he's persistent, and if part of the measurement of a prime minister is how much they put themselves about on the world stage, then Blair surely is on a level with Thatcher. You get your horrible armour on and your crash helmet and trudge up into the backside of this big ugly green plane. And off you shudder. You don't have a captain coming on and saying, we've reached our cruising altitude or anything. Very much a feeling of flying blind in the back there, and full of trepidation, and full of this thought, not very rational thought, that you were flying above millions of passionate murderers who would like nothing more than to torture you to death with power tools and then post your decapitation on the internet. We arrived at the British Embassy within the zone.
We just had a little bit of incoming just before you landed.
Preceded a few minutes earlier by a rocket attack, just a few feet from where we were. But it was one of those sessions where Blair had to go around the room and shake a couple of hundred hands and have a couple of hundred 5-second conversations. In a way that was... It was difficult not to admire him just for physically getting through these sessions, where you can see and feel that his smile is kind of congealing on his face, and yet he has to do it, while being, I imagine, racked with all sorts of doubts. Almost everything that's gone wrong in Iraq, I mean, I think it was a predictable disaster. Once you read up on it, you can see various structural reasons why it couldn't have worked. Number one being that the Middle East isn't ready for democracy, very clearly. I mean, as the old phrase has it, it's one man, men only, one vote once. Then you vote in a theocracy. What was surely predictable was that in a Shia majority nation, you would get Shia government, and that's never happened in the world of Islam. So this has sent a great tidal wave of unease through the Arab world. Blair made a speech, and it wasn't a bad speech. And then we went into a side room where there were 30 or 40 soldiers and officers, and in a somber atmosphere. and there was talk about how difficult it had been, and the Padre spoke of the hard and dark side of all this. And it did seem to me that Blair couldn't find the words, couldn't find a tone, couldn't find a register, and struggled, really struggled. At Sedgefield, I thought he touched on a few sentimental chords that he felt he probably earned. He is, he's not only a professional politician, but one who's been in power for 10 years, and I'm sure, he's like a jukebox, where you punch in the number you want, and the turntable moves down and selects the disc. And he has many hundreds of these discs in his jukebox by now, and he can do it almost without thinking about it.
Thank you all very much. I've come back here to Sedgefield, to my constituency, where my political journey began and where it's fitting that it should end. Today I announce my decision to stand down from the leadership of the Labour Party. But I ask you to accept one thing. Hand on heart, I did what I thought was right.
When I went to talk to him in the den, he said, "You can sit on the famous sofa." And it's as famous because of this sofa style of government that he's been accused of, you might say, where you don't go through cabinet, you don't go through Whitehall, you do it with your mates, people you trust, the people who've been with you all along. And these are perhaps unprecedentedly media-savvy people who, it is an embarrassing truth that how things are perceived are at least as important as what they are, how things are going to play. And this, in its turn, means that I think when he's with them, he's very much himself and candid and relaxed. But when he's with anyone from the media, then you can see hundreds of little reservations coming into his expression. It's just as well that power is this great stimulant and aphrodisiac and all the rest of it, because, by God, it has to get you through so much painful routine of being agreeable, of, the dosing, the politics. Everyone said of Stalin that he was the supreme doser. He knows when someone needs a phone call, someone needs a pat on the back, someone needs, a favor, a handshake. It must be like having 30 or 40 fights every day, little fights. Not aggression, but just persistence and wearing people down and tiny increments of progress on dozens of fronts. Not very exciting, all that, but very much part of what he does.